Hey there, third grade. This is Mr. Campbell. Today we're going to be working on page 253. This is going to be lesson 7.1, read picture graphs and bar graphs. And at the end of today, we want you to be able to say, I can use picture graphs and bar graphs to answer questions about data sets. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look right here. What that means is we are going to be working on some different types of graphs today. Now, if you are not on page 253 just yet, get there with me now. Pause the video to get to there because we're going to be using this to start off. It says, students in George's class took a survey of their favorite cereals and made this graph to show the results. Name at least 3 facts about the information in the graph. And it says you can use structure. How can you find the number of votes for each type of cereal? All right, so here is our graph right down here. All right, at the very top, we've got our title, so favorite cereals. Over here, we have the different types of cereal that we're talking about. And at the bottom, it's going to give us our key. And that means 2 spoons together equals 2 votes. And if it's just 1 spoon by itself, it equals 1 vote. Right? So as we go through here, we can skip count by 2s whenever we see these. And then no, this is going to be 1 more. So let's go ahead and start with Berry Crunch. So count with me. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, and then there's only 1 more, so 9, right? So we had 9. For Honey Crunch or Honey Granola, we've got our 2 votes each. So 2, 4. All right, so we've got 4 there. For Corn Puffs, we've got 2, 4, 6, and then 1 more is 7. And our last one, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 is going to be for nuts and wheat. So this is how we can read this graph, all right? This is called a picture graph because we've got these pictures to represent data for us. And at the bottom, it tells us that. So let me ask you a few questions. Which one of these had the most votes for it? Well, that would be nuts and wheat, right? That was the most, and we can see that with the number of pictures. Which one had the least amount? Well, the least amount would be Honey Granola, because look at that. It's only got 2 there, right? So this is how picture graphs can really help us to be able to gather our information together and then read it clearly. Well, let's go ahead and turn to the next page and take a look at another example. So here we are on page 254. And again, if you have not got there yet, pause the video, turn to page 254. Make sure you got your pencil with you because you could be following along as we work. All right, it says how many teams are in the East Falls League? All right, then it says information that you collect is called data. And a scaled picture graph uses pictures or symbols to show that data. The scale is the value each picture or symbol represents. All right, and that's what this is. This is a key which explains the scale. All right, so our key is down here, and it helps us to know what we're talking about. So the original question was, how many teams are in the East? Well, I see here that I've got 2 hockey sticks together, and then this other one over here. Well, how could I figure that out? Well, I look down here and say, oh, my hockey sticks equals 2 teams, and 1 hockey stick equals 1 team. So that means that I can skip count by 2s whenever I see this. 2, 4, 6, and then there's 1 more, so 6 plus 1 more is 7. All right, so how many teams are in the East Falls League? Well, East Falls has 7. Well, what if I asked you how many teams are in the South Falls? How many teams are in South Falls? Well, I would need to look here to find where it says South Falls, and then 2, 4. So we need to use our data and we use our graph to find the different information that's on there. It's kind of one of the reasons that I like it is because it's kind of fun to be able to look at these different parts and figure that out. All right, so let's go ahead and turn to page 255 and look at our other type of graph, which is going to be a bar graph. Here we are taking a look on page 255, and it says a scaled bar graph uses bars to represent and compare information. This bar graph shows the number of goals scored by different players on a hockey team. The scale shows the units used. On this bar graph, each horizontal grid line represents 2 units. Every other grid line is labeled 0, 4, 8, and so on. For example, the line halfway between 4 and 8 represents 6 goals. So if you look over here on our bar graph, we've got 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. But they're saying in between those, this is the line for 4. There's a line right here. So every time we go to one of those lines, it's going to be 2. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And the reason they do that is so that we don't have to label every single line, but we can use that same pattern in order to be able to do it. All right. So it helps us to be able to look at those different ones and see it. So let's look at number 1. All right. So I'm going to be sliding mine back and forth, up and down. And so let's go ahead and check it out. Oh, before I do that, though, I'm sorry. I wanted to double check one thing. Could you put your finger on, this is our bar graph. Could you put your finger on the title of our bar graph? What's the title of our bar graph? Well, our title is up here. Hockey goals scored by each player. All right. Where would I find the number of goals that they scored? Well, that would be over here where it says number of goals, right? And then where would I find the name of the players? That's going to be down here along the bottom. So these are the different parts of our bar graph, which help us out. So now we can go ahead and check out down here. It says, how many goals did Alex and Reggie score? When I see and, that means I need to put them together. All right. So you need to first figure out how many did Alex score. So I'm going to find Alex. I'm going to go all the way up here and, oh, there's no number there. But remember, that means that we can add 2 more to the number before it. So we are at 16 and we can add 2 more. So 16, 17, 18. So Alex scored 18. And then how many did Reggie score? Well, let's go ahead and find Reggie. Here he is. And when we go all the way up, I'm going to go all the way over. Reggie scored 16. So we need 18 plus 16. 8 plus 6. All right, that's 14. So I keep my 4. And I put a plus 1 in my tens place. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So how many goals did they score? Well, they scored 34 goals. All right. Now, it says, explain how you would find out how many fewer goals Cindy scored than Alex. Well, Alex's number is bigger and Cindy's number is smaller. And I want to figure out how much is the difference between these two. And difference is the word that we use for a subtraction problem. So in a subtraction problem, do I need to start with the larger number or the smaller number? I hope you said larger, right? Because we start with the larger. So Alex, how many goals did he score? Oh, yeah. 16 plus those 2 is 18. And then how many did Cindy score? Well, Cindy's is right here. It's in between 16 and 12. 12 plus 2 more, 13 and 14, sorry. All right. And we said the difference, so I want to subtract these 2. Well, 8 minus 4 is 4, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So how many goals fewer? 4 goals. All we did was we used the information inside of this bar graph. All right, let's check out down here. We've got one more picture graph. All right. And I'm going to ask you to put your finger on the title. Where would I find the title? Our title is right up here. Hours of light usage at a sports center. The number of hours lights are on each week. So that's what our title is. All right. Where would I find the different areas? Well, our different areas are going to be right here. All right. We've got 4 different areas we're talking about. And I see we've got all these light bulbs. What do those mean? Where is our key? Our key is down here. So a full light bulb equals 10 hours, and a half light bulb equals 5 hours. All right. So when I take a look at the tennis courts, I would count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 would be for our tennis courts. All right. Well, let's check out number 3. It says, which area has lights on for exactly 50 hours a week? Well, if we know that there's 10 hours for every light bulb, we need to find the one that has 5 light bulbs only. So they all have 1, they all have 2, they all have 3, they all have 4, they all have 5. Every other one keeps going except for this one. So which one? It's the tennis court. And we can double check that by counting by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 50 hours, 50 hours. Next it says, what does the half bulb in the data for the exercise room represent? So when I find the exercise room and I see, ooh, over here it's got that at half. What does that mean? Well, does that mean 10 hours? No, it means 5 hours. So it means 5 hours because that's what it represents whenever we have those halves. All right. Last one, it says in 1 week, how many more hours are the lights on in the exercise room than the swimming pool? All right. So our exercise room and our swimming pool. When we hear that, how much more, we're going to have to do some subtracting. So I know that I'm looking at the exercise room and I'm looking at the swimming pool. Which one of those is larger? Well, which one has more light bulbs? The exercise room, right? So let's count them up. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 5 more. So that's 75. And for our swimming pool, we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, plus 5 more is 55. And we want to know the difference between these two. So 5 minus 5 is 0, and 7 minus 5 is 2. So how many more hours are the exercise room lights on? 20 hours. All right. Now, this is what we're going to be working on this whole chapter. We're going to be creating our own bar graphs, our own picture graphs in the coming days. And so this is what we'll be working on. So this is our first introduction to it. The important thing is to make sure that we know where our key is, we know where our title is, and what that information represents, whether we're looking at our picture graph or whether we're looking at the bar graph up at the top. Either way, it all gives us information that we can answer questions about. Well, thanks for sticking with me and working hard today. We will see you next time. Have a great rest of the day.